Watching with me was Nelson Muffuh, the UN Resident Coordinator in South Africa. Nelson, great to see another Cameroonian in the studio today.
Thanks for having me, Ian.
Thank you for coming. But let's talk about South Africa, and in particular SDGs. I'd be very curious to hear from you how South Africa is coping in terms of trying to reach those SDGs.
South Africa, like in most other parts of the world, is facing challenges with regards to achieving its developmental goals, right? We've heard this week from the Secretary General and the Deputy Secretary General and others that we're off track. And South Africa recently also just undertook a 10-year review of its National Development Plan, which is fully aligned with the Sustainable Development Goals and the 2030 Agenda, and also realized that on a key number of fronts, it is facing some challenges and needs to refocus its efforts and reinforce its collaboration with the UN and other partners to try to achieve as many of the SDGs as possible. And so our cooperation framework in South Africa, working with the government, is seeking to advance some of the key transitions we heard about in the SDG Summit on energy transitions, social protection, a big issue for South Africa, transforming the education system, the food systems, ensuring that digital technologies really leave no one behind and benefits all. Localization of the SDGs as well, very important. Ensuring that we have a capable state and reinforcing service delivery. And we have social cohesion as well. And going into an elections period, all of these issues matter. So South Africa really is a strong proponent of the Sustainable Development Agenda. In fact, its National Development Plan has the slogan, "Leave no one behind," which is like the SDGs. So we're working really closely with the government and the people of South Africa through a whole-of-society approach to be able to achieve the SDGs. And this was confirmed when the Secretary General at UNGA met with the President of South Africa, and the Deputy Secretary General today just met with the Minister and the Presidency in charge of planning, monitoring, and evaluation. So really ensuring that the UN is working with the government.
And what does that look like on the ground? I mean, are there some specific programs in the country that are aiming in this regard?
Yes, definitely. So I'll take, for example, the Just Energy Transition Partnership. South Africa being one of the first countries in the world that entered into a formal agreement at the COP in Glasgow about ensuring that over time it will transition away from coal to renewable sources of generating energy. But at the same time, the country is going through an energy crisis and an energy affordability and availability crisis. So the UN, working with the government, is informing, first of all, its planning with regard to how it responds to the need to transition, but also scale up access of energy to its people. Informing from the Presidential Climate Commission to the Just Energy Transition Secretariat to the labor unions, very big in South Africa. And one key thing is working to really realize what the just part of the transition should look like, not leaving people behind, ensuring women are not impacted negatively, children in communities around the mines and the coal-fired power plants, water systems are really quite not suffering and can really continue to be cleaned up and made available to the population. So the UN across all of the 17 agencies, funds and programs in the country, ILO working with the labor unions, UNDP working on really the consultations with the different groupings, but most importantly on the energy mix going forward, doing a wind atlas, for example, of the country to say these are the sources where you can get the best wind resources. UNEP coming in as well with the expertise from around the world to advise and really help the government think through the choices it has to make. UN Women, UNICEF, UNFPA, looking at how stakeholders may contribute and not be impacted. Women, young people, children. So the UN is really walking the talk in South Africa with the government on this, but of course we need more resources as always to be able to effectively play a role. So engaging the development partners is a key one for us and bringing them around the table, this convening role. So as resident coordinator, we also have, I think, the imperative to bring different voices around the table to try to resolve the challenges and make sure the right approach is being advanced, but also the means of implementing that. And the SDG Summit this last few days has really been about transitions, accelerating action, but making sure the means of implementing that finance, technology, capacity is on the table. So it's a good thing that the Leaders' Declaration adopted on Monday on the SDG Summit addresses all of that. Now, when we go back to the ground and in South Africa, we need to ensure the words, the commitments become tangible actions that make a difference.
Great. And it's certainly great on this side to hear more African voices, more developing world voices at the table, at the podium, talking about these important issues because they're the ones that are obviously most affected by it. Thank you so much, Nelson.